The sun has just gone behind the clouds, which is fabulous for the start of this video. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. I have been gone for a very, very long time. I think the last time I posted was the end of January or like the middle of January, and it's currently the middle of March. So I have really been like gone. And the reason I'm doing this video is not necessarily because I think people will notice that I've gone, but more is like to record things. I've just, I decided to do YouTube to record things and to record my life. And there is a solid 2 months missing. So let's catch up here. Why? Let me tell you why. So there was a video I was filming just before I kind of disappeared. It was a very mismatched video. You will still see it. It will go up on Thursday. So this is going up on Tuesday, which is today, the day I'm filming it. And the next video you'll see is Thursday, and I'll go back to posting on Thursdays and Sundays. And in that video, you see a very, very small snippet of me working in the cathedral, which is something that a couple of the girls do in our work. We take shifts in the cathedral for a little bit of extra money on the weekends or the evenings. So basically I went to that shift and I started feeling really ill. And I think I've mentioned in a previous video as well that when I first moved to Belfast, I had like this week of like being really, really sick. Luckily just before I had a job, so I didn't have to take any sick leave. But yeah, this was like a Saturday night. I started to feel really, really sick. And then on the Sunday night, it just continued. It felt like it was getting worse. And on the Monday, I'd finally called in sick to work and let them know that I wouldn't be coming in. I had a lot of pain. Then the Monday night, we went to see the out of hours GP, and they said they reckon it was gallstones and that I should see a GP. I wasn't registered with a GP yet, so it was kind of impossible to see a GP. And the pain was so bad that it was going to be really difficult to wait for a GP appointment. Anyway, I was a bit nervous to take more time off work considering the fact that I just started that job. So I was about to go in on the Tuesday morning, even though I was in agonizing pain. Like I was in so much pain without giving like too much like in detail like information. I was in a lot of pain. I had a lot of like indigestion. I had a lot of like bowel problems, and I had really, really dark urine. And I was just really worried at this point. Lucas was really worried at this point. So when we woke up on Tuesday morning, about 6:30 in the morning, we decided to go to the emergency department. So we turn up. Obviously, you go through triage, you get seen through triage. They couldn't take my blood because I have notoriously bad veins. So the poor student nurse that tried to take my blood couldn't get it. Couldn't find a vein. She didn't even try. But yeah, I was given like some paracetamol for the pain, but it didn't touch it. And then I was moved to another area where I was waiting to see the emergency department doctors. So I was called into another room there where they did take my blood. A nurse took my blood. And then I like ran out of that room and threw up in the toilet. I threw up like just water because I hadn't eaten anything since like the night before. And then I think like I threw up a load of blood, but basically what had happened is I'd like burst a blood vessel. So it wasn't like any internal bleeding or anything like that. But it was still really scary. And it just got to a point where like the nurse came over to give me like cocodamol or codeine, like something a little bit stronger, or the doctor did, sorry. And I was just like, do you have a bed I can lie down on? Because I'm about to lie down on the floor. Like I cannot cope with this anymore. And then they were starting to look a little bit concerned. And at this point, I didn't really know because I wasn't really looking in a mirror or anything like that. But I had gone really jaundice and really yellow, according to Lucas. So I think that's why they started to worry a little bit at that point, because obviously that's a reflection of like your kidneys, I think, or your liver and kidneys. So I think they were a little bit worried at this point. They'd found me a bed in one of like the back rooms, took me there to lie me down. But before I got to the bed, I just started like vomiting. But it was, again, sorry if this is too much information. And if you really don't want to hear this, you don't have to watch this video. But it was like really dark, sick, and it was just really weird. And then, like, you know, when you're like heaving, when you want to throw up, I was like continuously heaving, like I could not stop, even though I wasn't necessarily like throwing up every time. So that was a very scary experience. The next thing I kind of remember, they gave me some anti-sickness, they laid me on the bed, and next minute, like, I'm being like whizzed out in the bed, like being taken somewhere else. And I was taken to like they call it the amber resus room, and I think it's where the more like complex emergency department issues are. At this point, they'd given me morphine, they'd given me all kinds of pain medication. It wasn't really touching the pain. I was wiped out at the same time because I was on so much pain medication and I was in so much pain. Then I think at some point they gave me fluids through an IV, and it was just very chaotic. And we were in that room for like 16 hours, which is crazy because I remember possibly half an hour to an hour of it. But yes, Lucas was there the entire time and we were in there for about 16 hours. And then I was finally moved to the emergency surgery ward. So kind of knew that it would ultimately end in a surgery, I guess. But at the same time, I was still wiped out for like a week. Turns out the main problem was that I did have gallstones, and that a gallstone had got trapped in my bile duct that like was the duct that came from my pancreas, and it had caused my pancreas to inflame and caused acute pancreatitis, which can be very severe, and I had a very severe version of it. It was very scary for like the first week or two, just feeling so ill. I think it was probably pretty scary for the first week for Lucas and my mum because I was very out of it and I didn't eat for a week, and there was just a lot of things that kept kind of going wrong. Like my temperature would go really high. I was tachycardic, which means my heart rate was over 100 beats per minute, and that was for like a week and a half, 2 weeks I was tachycardic for. So no wonder I was absolutely exhausted for a very long time. I'm still kind of recovering from that. So that was the main kind of problem, was the pancreatitis and the gallstone being trapped. So I had things like an ultrasound, CT, and MRI, just to check like the location of the gallstone. They were planning to go in with a camera down my throat to check to see if the gallstone was there still, and then another camera down my throat to remove the gallstone. And then obviously a few weeks later they would plan to take my gallbladder out. However, very luckily, I'm very, very lucky, the gallstone dislodged itself and passed itself. So I didn't need the camera procedure. And not only did it dislodge itself, but the pancreatitis started calming down very well, and I never got any infections. It's very common in pancreatitis to have like chest infections because you're not breathing very well. There was a good amount of time that I was on oxygen, so I definitely wasn't breathing very well, but I wasn't needing a lot of oxygen, so I was sustaining myself pretty well in comparison to how bad it could be. So I do feel very, very lucky that I didn't get the additional things that sometimes come along with pancreatitis. However, it was explained to me quite a lot that I did have a very severe kind of version of the pancreatitis, and I'd had a really bad time with it. So I guess sometimes you can have like a lesser version of the pancreatitis but still get the infections, and sometimes you might just get the severe version of pancreatitis. And then I feel very, very sorry for the people that get the severe pancreatitis and the infections, because I'm sure that's very, very difficult to deal with. I was in hospital for a total of about 3.5 weeks, or maybe just 3 weeks. They were planning to send me away and then ask me to come back in for my gallbladder removal, but they felt pretty comfortable towards the end of the 3 weeks that my pancreatitis had calmed down enough for them to go in and laparoscopically remove my gallbladder, which is like the keyhole surgery. So I didn't have open surgery, which has also aided in much, much better recovery time. So that is something I'm also really grateful that they were able to do that, because there is always the risk of them having to turn a keyhole surgery into an open surgery, and it would have just caused a much longer and harder recovery time. So yes, I now have no gallbladder. That is where I've been, and there is a lot more to everything that went on that I'm probably missing out, but I think they are kind of the main points. Unfortunately, like, my family never managed to come over. I've got young kids, like young siblings in my family, and a very young nephew, so there's not always ability for people to come over, and just unfortunately in the time that I was in hospital there wasn't anyone able to. But I'm very, very, very lucky and very grateful that I had Lucas and his family around me, just having some kind of support system. Lucas was brilliant. He was there every single day without fail, even when I was like annoyed at him for coming later than he said he was gonna. I think that sometimes that might have made me feel or sound a little bit ungrateful, but I think that was more like the cabin fever of being stuck in a hospital room. So I'm so grateful that I had people around me that loved and cared for me. And yes, I'm now home. I'm now ready to like jump back into things. I have edited the next video that will go up on Thursday. I've actually been home for 4 weeks, I think, or 3 weeks now. I think 3 weeks I've been home for now. So I'm in the 4th week of being home, and I'm realistically only just like getting out and actually moving and doing things. I've not been in pain for about a week and a half or a week, but just with the amount of time I spent in hospital, I think there was more recovery in just moving and gaining fitness levels again, and kind of molding myself back into kind of everyday life than just the recovery from the surgery. I know keyhole surgery is most often, or at least the gallbladder removal keyhole surgery is most often an outpatient. I was actually discharged from hospital like 2 days after my surgery. Yeah, I had my surgery on the Monday, and then I was discharged on the Wednesday. So it wasn't very long after my surgery that I was discharged. So everything before was just pancreatitis, and there was definitely still issues with my pancreas. When I left, it wasn't completely healed. They said it would take a very long time for it to kind of completely return to normal. And the one other thing that I've kind of been waiting for an appointment for, which is very overdue and I really need to chase it up, is that I had fluid still around my pancreas, because apparently fluid, maybe everyone knows this, I didn't, but fluid tends to collect around an organ when it's like distressed, when it's needs protecting, I think is the reason the fluid is there. But it can turn into actual collections, which is, I think, little like kind of pockets of fluid, and they can burst, and I know that that is not very good for you. So I'm meant to be going to hospital to check that I haven't got fluid collections, and if I have, they would need to drain it, which I think is a very minor kind of procedure. So not too worried about that, just hoping that I can definitely get in and see my consultant soon. But everyone at the hospital was amazing. I was at the Royal Victoria Hospital in Belfast, and I literally could not have asked for better. Nurses, care assistants, doctors, surgeons, they were all so brilliant. I had an amazing dietitian as well, because I had lost a bit of weight whilst I was in there, and I wasn't eating, so they kind of had to come and force me to eat. But yeah, they were all brilliant, and I'm very, very grateful for that too. But yes, I'm back to it. I filmed a couple of videos since I've been out of hospital. I filmed a video of just kind of my first few days home recovering, and then I filmed a couple of videos since then as well, just in my life. Obviously not very exciting, I'm just at home, I'm still not quite 100% there, but I'm definitely getting there. So if you want to kind of come on that journey with me, then feel free to subscribe, like this video, comment if you want to know anything else. I might not be like the best knowledgeable person on all of this, considering I was probably knocked out for half of it. Thank you so much for watching. If you do want to see a video that isn't just a sit down kind of boring talking video, check out my other videos. They are still very chill, hopefully just a bit of comfort watching you can throw on the telly whilst you clean or whilst you're doing other things. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment down below if you have any questions or anything else you want to see from me on my channel. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!